Hey guys, how's everybody doing today? So today, 5 rules that you could break, but 5 rules nonetheless on how to make your pictures better for social media. All right, so rule number 1 is the rule of thirds. And what the rule of thirds really says is that you don't want your subject to be centered in your photo, especially if it's a standard size photo. So a long photo with the subject in it, you're going to want to have the subject either on the left or the right side. That's because our brain is kind of trained to look for things in the centered area. So you want to create some interest in your photo, put them left, put them right, have there be some interest there. You know, a centered photo, the subject's right in the center, is really, it's looked at as amateur. However, I do see some reasons where a centered subject is very important in a photo. It really is also up to you. These are your photos. I'm just giving you suggestions on some ways that you might look at to make them better. Now, you got a square image. Uh-oh. That doesn't necessarily follow the rule of thirds, you say. And it doesn't necessarily, in the traditional sense, follow the rule of thirds, but you also have some areas like the foreground, midground, and background. So you can use those to play with the rule of thirds and have the focus be in one of those, in the foreground, in the background, stuff like that. Really just kind of playing with those thirds. All right, rule number 2 is resolution. Please, 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 I'm going to say it one more time. Please stop using low resolution images on social media. You want your resolution to be much higher than you would actually expect on social media, because a lot of people are looking at, it's still like 42% of people are looking at your photos on a laptop, that's maybe plugged into a 70-inch TV screen like I have. I see a photo that has, 400 pixel resolution on its longest side, and it looks like nothing but a picture of Mars from the sun 20 years ago. I cannot tell what that picture is. So please use a higher resolution photo. Now, here are some things that might happen. You save your photo to your Google Drive before you upload it to whatever platform you have to schedule it. It may downsize it to keep it stored as a lower resolution image. Make sure when you pull your image, you're pulling the full resolution. Again, about a 2000 pixel minimum is what you want on your longest side of your photo for it to look good on social media. So try not to, please try not to use low resolution images on social media. Ready for rule number 3? Rule number 3 has to do with your background and your lighting. And I'm not going to tell you you have to have a plain white background. I'm not going to tell you you have to have a plain black background. I don't like plain white backgrounds or plain black backgrounds. Actually, I skip over them on social media in most situations. However, your background should be consistent throughout your social media pictures. If you're transitioning from one field to the next field, you should transition slowly. Don't shock and appall your followers. You really want to transition slowly if you're transitioning your background. But make sure your background also isn't crazy, like so crazy you can't tell the difference between you and what the background is, or you or your subject of the image and the background. You want to make sure that you can see the difference. Same thing sort of applies for the lighting. You don't have to be a bright white person with the lights blasting you in the face and everything so bright and white and happy. You don't have to be an all dark person where everything's so sad and dark and gloomy and miserable. You can be happy in the medium. You can have some, some light on some of your photos, a little bit less on others. Just don't, again, shock and appall your followers, but also make sure that it's consistent. It feels right in your profile from the beginning to the end. Look at your Instagram feed as a complete item for the feed. You don't want it to be haphazard and random. You want it to actually have a story that's read across the feed. So those are a couple things. Background and lighting, just consistent background, consistent lighting, whatever it may be. Nothing too crazy, nothing too, oh my God, what are they doing? Ready for rule number 4? Rule number 4 is focus. Make sure your picture is in focus. Your subject might move around like this. It might get out of focus. You're taking a picture and you snap it and it's out of focus. Make sure that the picture you use on social media is one that is in focus. Here's a couple tips for checking focus. 1, if you're using an iPhone or another phone, In most situations, you can tap the subject in the picture on your screen, and that will make sure the focus is on them, not on something up here, something over there. It makes sure that the focus is on them. Another thing, if you're using a DSLR and you're new at it and you're not using the autofocus, which I recommend, don't use the autofocus because the autofocus sometimes pulls something that's not what you want to focus on. Make sure you manually focus it, but take a couple of snapshots, see if and look at it on the screen and see if they're actually in focus. Because the worst thing that you could do is take a whole bunch of pictures of your subject and get home and the subject is gone, whatever it is, and you realize that every single picture you have of them is out of focus. Because then you got to call them back, then you got to take new photos, stuff like that, or you got to use ones that are out of focus. And an out of focus image on social media is confusing. It's why are we out of focus? Why are we not looking at that? And people will just, anything that confuses people, they just keep walking by. So or swiping by. All right, so that's your fourth rule, focus. Rule number 5, have a story. Guess what? It doesn't have anything to do with you actually taking the picture, but a good picture can go to a great picture if it has a story. Tell the story of the picture, tell the story that you're trying to convey, but really just have a story with your photo, and that's going to help your photo perform better on social media because people love stories. People connect with stories. So tell a story about your photo. That's going to help it's going to help it look better. All you got to do is make it look better. So those are the 5 tips for having better photos on social media. I hope they help you out. Remember, they're tips, they're rules. You can break the rules, but you need to know them first. All right. Have a great day, guys, and I'll talk to you next week.